Assalamu alaikum. In this lecture, I am going to discuss about the classification and functions of epithelia, or we can also call it epithelial tissue. Don't be confused about the word epithelia, because epithelia is nothing but the plural of epithelium. In classification, we will deal with two kinds of classification. One will be on the basis of number of layers of the cell, whether there is only one layer or more than one layer. And the second classification is on the basis of the shapes of the cell, how the cell is looking. So on the basis of that, there is the second classification. So let's start from the first one, that is on the basis of the number of layers. So the first classification which is on the basis of number of layers of the cell. So on the basis of the number of the cells, we are having two types. The first one is simple epithelia, and the second one is stratified epithelia. So on the basis of the number of layer of the cell, we having simple epithelia and stratified epithelia. Now let's discuss both of them individually. What is the simple epithelia? Simple epithelia are those which consist of only one layer of the cell. Simple epithelia having only one layer of the cell. Let's suppose we are having basement membrane. So in this basement membrane, there will be only one layer of the cell. If you observe, there is only one layer. We do not see another layer. So we just only see one layer. So if there is only one layer, that will be simple epithelia. Let's discuss the stratified epithelia. So the stratified epithelia is composed of more than one layer of the cells. The stratified epithelia contain more layers. It don't having only one layer, it having more than one layer. Let's suppose if we are having basement membrane, so on this basement membrane, if these are cells, so we will have more layer. One is this, one is this, and one is this. If there is only one layer, that will be simple epithelia. If there is more than one layer, as we see that there is three layers. So if there is more than one layer, that will come in this category, stratified epithelia. So this is one kind of classification. After having discussion on the first kind of classification, which is on the basis of number of layers, now let's discuss the second classification, which is on the basis of shapes of the cell. Let's name the first one as the first, and the second one is the second. So this second classification is on the basis of shapes of the cell. So on the basis of shapes of the cell, we are having three main types. The first one is squamous cell. The second one is cuboidal cell, and the third one is columnar cell. On the basis of shapes of the cell, we are having these three types. The first one is squamous, the second one is cuboidal, and the third one is columnar. So let's discuss these three individually. The first one is squamous cell. Squamous cells are basically flat cell. Let's suppose this is basement membrane, so the cell will be flat. If there is flat cell, that will be squamous cell. Now let's come to the second one, cuboidal. Cuboidal cell will be those cells which look like a cube. Their width and height is approximately of the same length. Let's suppose this is basement membrane, so the cell will be like this. They are having the same height with the same width. So if you find such cell, that will be cuboidal cell. Now let's proceed to the third and last one, which is columnar cell. So if you analyze, columnar cell will be the cell which will have height more than that of the width. So let's suppose this is basement membrane, so the cell will be like this. They will have more height rather than that of the width. So if you find such cell, that will be columnar cell. So I hope you have understand the types of cell on the basis of shapes. After having discussion on these two way of classification, now let's discuss something which is very important, and that is that the simple epithelia having three main types on the basis of shape of the cell. Let's suppose this is basement membrane and the cell which is here. If these cells are flat, we will call that as the simple squamous epithelia. Let's suppose this cell which is on the basement membrane, it look like cube, then we will call it the simple cuboidal epithelia. And at the last, if this one layer containing the cell which having more height rather than that of the width, we will call it simple columnar epithelia. So on the basis of the shapes of the cell, the simple epithelia having three main types. The first one is simple squamous epithelia, the second one is simple cuboidal epithelia, and the third one is simple columnar epithelia. Now let's discuss the stratified epithelia. Even this stratified epithelia also having three types, and these three types is also on the basis of the shape of the cell. But here the case is little different, because this stratified epithelia do not having only one layer, it having more than one layer. So then their classification will be on the basis of the topmost cell. If the topmost layer containing the cell which is flat, we will call that as stratified squamous epithelia. If these cells they look like flat, then that will be stratified squamous epithelia. Let's suppose these cells look like cube, then we will call it stratified cuboidal epithelia. And let's suppose if these cells look like column or look like that their height is more than the width, we will call it stratified columnar epithelia. So I hope this is clear to all of you. If you have any question, you can ask in the section below, and it will be a great pleasure for me to answer. After having discussion on the classification, now let's proceed to the last section of the video, and that is the functions of epithelia. Functions of epithelia. So the first function is that it makes the lining. This epithelia, they making the lining. Which kind of lining? In the last lecture we have already discussed that it making the lining of the blood vessel like artery and vein. It also making the lining of the respiratory system. In the respiratory system we are having different structures. We are having different organ like pharynx, like trachea, etc. So their lining is made of epithelia. We are also having digestive system. So in digestive system there are organ which is also made of epithelia. So it makes the lining. The second function is that it helps in secretion. In the last lecture we have also discussed about the glandular epithelia. So in glandular epithelium we are having glands, and glands having the property of secretion. It secretes sebum, it secretes hormone, etc. So epithelial tissue also helping in secretion. The third function is that it helps infiltration and absorption. Actually they are present in the nephron, so they are helping in filtration and absorption. And the last function we will write here, that is that it helps in protection. So it also helping in protection. Let's suppose we are having this epidermis. So this epidermis protecting us from the chemical, from the pathogen, etc. So this epithelia also helping in protection. So I hope the concept about the epithelia or epithelial tissue will be clear to all of you. We will meet in next video. Thanks a lot for watching.